Hello, everyone. My name is William Bell, Executive Vice President of Products at PhoenixNAP, and welcome to Empowering Object Storage Agility in the Hybrid Cloud. I'm joined today by some great co-presenters, Grant Jacobson, Technology Alliances and Partner Marketing Director at Cloudian, and Sandeep Karyappa, Director of Product Management at Cloudian. Welcome, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right.
Thank you,
Guys,
Bill,
we've got
to be here.
a packed agenda for everyone. I want to start off by mentioning that we are going to give away a $100 Amazon gift card at the end of this presentation. So we will announce the winner at the end. Stay tuned for that. And I also wanted to bring to everyone's attention that we are running a special promo for all the attendees here today. Our brand new bare metal cloud offering launched about a year ago. On-demand infrastructure as a service, fully dedicated servers via API, Ansible, Terraform, Kubernetes Operator, tons of cool solutions, including our brand new Rancher Kubernetes solution that we just co-launched with the Super Rancher team. And in exchange for getting one of these types of instances, reaching out to one of our sales team, we're going to include a terabyte of object storage service for free. So you get a full free 1 terabyte of our object storage service powered by Cloudian, included with any one of these servers. And frankly, any server. If you're attending today and you sign up at bmc.phoenixnap.com and you buy a server, we'll give you a terabyte of object storage complimentary. So we got a ton of stuff to get into today. Huge agenda. We're gonna walk through a few introductions and some housekeeping. We're going to do a whole kind of outline of the challenges around storage, data management, public cloud and or on-prem, co-management and hybridity. We're going to get deeper into the Cloudian object storage platform. It's a great, object storage platform with huge compatibility, with S3, with the AWS S3 specification specifically. That's great to use on-prem, and it powers our object storage service. So, we've been partnered with Cloudian now for, I think 5.5, 6 years. And, we offer the Cloudian object store in 4 of our data centers worldwide today. So you're able to get that as part of your infrastructure as a service when working with PNAP. Then Sandeep is going to go through how modern storage management is performed, right? So we're going to talk about cloud native applications, and we're going to talk about what's changing around how you provide those application storage and how you manage that storage. So ton of things. Get your questions ready, get them in, and we're going to start with a couple of poll questions just so that I can get a temperature on the audience. I want to understand where everybody's at in your hybrid multi-cloud journey. This really helps me and our co-presenters make sure that we give you guys the best presentation possible. So if you could toss in some answers here, get everybody up to a nice voting total here, that'll make sense. So let's shoot for 30, 40%, it'd be great. Click that button. All right, we're gonna go ahead and wind that down. A couple seconds here, and polls closed. Looks like we got about 60%, 58% yes, 25% not yet, but looking at it, and 17% no. I would say that's pretty representative of what we see in the market today. Most folks are trying to figure out what makes sense for them from a public cloud perspective, from an on-prem perspective, and increasingly starting to understand, okay, what's out there that isn't the hyperscalers, but also isn't me buying everything and building it myself. So next question we're gonna do, just threw it up there, is what kind of storage service do you have today? What are you leveraging today in terms of storage? Whether there's public cloud, traditional NAS. I assume most of the people on this call are gonna be still doing a lot of traditional SAN, a lot of traditional NAS. All the analysts will basically tell you that the amount of data still sitting in a data center or in an office somewhere far exceeds what's being, what's currently out there in the public cloud. So we expect this to be pretty high, and indeed it is, right? So 57, 58% again in the traditional SAN space, 24% in public cloud storage, only 5% in object storage, which is cool because that means there's a lot of runway out there. I think when you guys listen to the team at Cloudian talk about what object storage can do for you and your business, it's going to be interesting. I am kind of shocked that no one clicked tape. Really, nobody? No one still operates tape? And if so, congratulations to everybody on this call. We finally are here, and tape is essentially in the dirt, which is probably where it belongs. All right. Then we got containerization. What does it look like for you with containers today? Are you taking an initiative inside your organization to bring microservices and containerized applications into your repertoire, or are you just kind of thinking about it, right? And we know there's a lot of people thinking about it. I assume by far and away, and it looks to be the case, about 50% are in the camp of we're thinking about it. The answer, I would say, most of you are saying in your minds, we're gonna do it, but you're just not there yet. 32% yes and 20% no, which I think I'm a little bit kind of shocked at. I think that, we still hear a lot of customers talking about like no intention to do microservices because of, app refactoring or whatnot, and they just don't want to do that. So that kind of makes sense. And then that is it. So we're going to roll right into our presentation from the guys at Cloudian. They've got a ton of cool capabilities to talk about. They are the industry leader in S3 compatibility. I mean, security out the wazoo. I think Grant's going to talk a lot about all their logos and security that they're handling. And, honestly, they're so flexible. They're great for you on-prem. They're great for cloud providers like ourselves. And ultimately, that means hybridity. And so with that, I'm going to let Grant take.
Thanks, William. Hello, everyone. Let's talk about some challenges. So some of you may resonate with this issue, but this is the big picture. This is like data volume growth going through the roof. IDC says 175 zettabytes in just a few more years, and that's from almost nothing a few years ago. And about 80% of that is unstructured data. These are the sensor data, video data, all kinds of sort of non-transactional data that you may have, and that's, like I said, about 80% of data, and where most of this growth is happening. 90% of the world's data created in the last 2 years. So the question is, what do you do with it? Where do you put it? How do you manage it? And because it's unstructured, it's an ideal fit with object storage. It's perfect, and that's where, as I say, where all the growth is happening. Another challenge, and this was covered a little bit with William's question here, but you've got sort of the world of on-prem, but now you have the world of cloud, or even multi-cloud, and how does that work? How does that get integrated? How do you keep visibility of the data and the storage across locations, that sort of thing? A lot of complexity there. Certainly cost becomes another issue, especially as you're trying to find a place for that data. And of course, again, alluded to already with the questions about modern applications and containers, sometimes called cloud native, sometimes called other things, but you've got this traditional applications, you've got traditional ways of storing, but with modern applications or container-based applications, it puts a brand new set of requirements with respect to associated storage. So modern apps need modern storage, and that's again where object storage comes in, fits very well here, and you'll see that at least with respect to Cloudian object storage with Phoenix Snap, that's going to serve both traditional applications as well as these modern applications. And my last challenge before I hand it back to William, data security. Of course, if you are paying attention to the news, I think it's just about every day there is something in the news about a ransomware attack. Cybersecurity is like front and center And it's actually crazy because a few years ago, no one was really worried about it, but now it happens probably every 11 seconds, and you're really not safe wherever you are. And so the need to protect data, to keep it safe, especially as you're adding more and it's becoming more strategic for your business, this is key, and it's certainly key for Cloudian and something that we emphasize, and I'll talk more about that, but this is a real important challenge. And with that, let me hand it back to William.
Yeah, absolutely. Grant, I think that when you look at the different challenges that CIOs, IT directors, and the engineers that are trying to kind of handle these large scale storage problems, we're seeing what you talked about, this just crazy growth in unstructured data, right? And people don't even know what to do with it, right? They're just storing it somewhere with the idea that they're going to need it at some point, or maybe it's because of some compliance objective or whatever the reason is. But we're still seeing 50% growth for capacity of unstructured data, which I think that when you look at the budgets of a lot of these organizations from a CapEx perspective, doing that on-prem exclusively can be very challenging with traditional storage arrays, right? And we see it all the time with our customers, people coming to us asking for extra storage. Can we do this? Can we do that? At minimum, they're trying to convert the CapEx to an OpEx stream. And most often they're trying to just reduce total cost of ownership across the board, right? And yeah, we've got security. I think it's probably going to be the number one challenge, coming in the next year, that the security of the data that they're storing. But for sure, capacity is pushing a lot of organizations, especially small, medium business, into really difficult choices around what data they continue to retain and keep. And so, when you look at this need for modern storage and agile storage, the expectation is becoming that whether it's on-prem, in a hosting environment, or in a public cloud, that there is essentially a limitless scalability, right? Our friends in the public cloud have helped drive this kind of mantra down. It's certainly not true that it's limitless, but it feels that way, and that's really all that matters. And for most organizations and their deployment models and growth trajectories, it is limitless. But I think increasingly people are realizing that just storing data is not enough. You have to be able to quickly and nimbly walk through your data and find the things you need, right? And everybody's familiar with like your typical reasons, the e-discovery or the lost file or the whatever it is, right? But what we're starting to see with the rise of new digital transformation projects is, what can I get out of the data? What can I mine out of the data that I have in my environment, right? And how can I use that to increase my business agility, make me more competitive against my competitors, lower my costs, whatever that is, drive revenue streams. Hopefully everybody on the call and in a technology position today is thinking about that all the time. How do I drive cost reduction or revenue into my organization? Because that's what's going to make you a champion, right? And ultimately, none of that matters if you don't secure it and protect it, right? Because you can invest all the time and effort into making things easy to access and reportable and all these things, and then if you have a severe compromise, you can jeopardize your whole business, right? And so you have to take security really, really importantly. And so when you look at the way that object storage, that cloud native storage integrations are handled today, you need a cloud native storage product for your cloud native applications. You need to make sure that these technologies work with your modern apps. If you're in the engineering side and your developers are coming to you saying, hey, look, I don't care where the storage comes from, I don't care how it's accessed, I want it to work with my brand new Kubernetes race car that I just made, right? And you have to be able to drive storage access and provisioning in that specific way, right? The way that makes sense for that. And so for those folks, and by design, that means it needs to be hybrid and multi-cloud, because your developers are building these applications they're building these applications for, you know, portability, and you have to provide storage portability as part of that. And so as you look at all of these different things as they're coming together, you have to find ways to make everything more simple for your organization, lower costs, and reduce TCO. Right, and I think with that, I'm gonna pass it back to Grant and go from there.
Thank you, William. Let's talk about object storage. Let's drill down a little bit and go to the next slide. Okay, so for those of you out there that may not know what object storage is, maybe you've heard of it. Let's look at the high level here. You probably know about block storage, otherwise known as primary storage. And as in one of the poll questions we just did, there's SAN, there's NAS, very common. It's been around a long time, and very good for where you need storage performance, say for a database or transaction applications. Doesn't scale very much, but it is otherwise, you know, very common. File storage showing here in the middle of the slide. Another traditional kind of storage, also primary storage. Common use cases around documents, engineering files. This includes unstructured data. This is how the world started, you know, for unstructured data. Scales better than block, maybe up to about 10 petabytes. But then on the right, object storage. This has been around for as long as the other two. But I would say in the last 15 years, since AWS came out with their S3 protocol standard, it's really taken off, and it's actually the default storage type for cloud storage. And that's exactly what Cloudian is supporting. Who uses object storage? You've got these familiar logos here, are big users of object storage, because think about the type of data they have. It's perfect for that. With the scalability, geo distribution, the need for data sovereignty, very high durability in terms of trying to protect that data, as William was talking about, security features, all kinds of stuff. So this is an example. These are examples of capacity intensive applications with this unstructured data. Okay, and very common use cases. We showed this on the previous slide. Many of these companies, media and entertainment, that kind of thing. But really, even for just traditional backup, archived, you know, data protection use cases, perfect. Big data, machine data, whether it's stuff like Splunk and Hadoop, or even just storage as a service, because these traditional applications and now increasingly the modern applications connect via S3, having an S3 compatible storage, such as we're talking about today, is essential. Makes it really simple, as William was talking about. So increasingly and across all the different types of vertical segments, wherever you might be, this is likely to be a very good fit for you. So again, with this same kind of storage platform, many of these different capabilities can be offered and provided as a service. So the S3 storage is a service, backup is a service, and so on. Or even to go back to my ransomware example, worried about ransomware attacks, this is available as a protection to, you know, in the case of any kind of tampering, there is complete protection that comes with that. So let's talk a little bit about S3. S3 storage is the, as I was saying, the default cloud storage protocol. It's really, since Amazon made such a big deal about this 15 years ago, people have been either adapting their applications or writing new applications that just connect with the S3 API, and that's built into natively in the Cloudian storage platform that is with Phoenix Dap. It's plug and play, makes it really simple to deploy and use. There's a lot of features in there besides just the S3, but all kinds of things, including security features, such as the S3 object lock feature, which is now the gold standard for data security. And simplicity, in terms of access, in terms of being able to manage things, it's really quite nice. And the adoption, again, driven in the marketplace, has been phenomenal. It's really why it's now the standard. And again, just flashing some logos here. These are all applications that connect with S3. These all work with Cloudian, in fact, but there are many, many more. There's thousands and thousands of S3 compatible applications. So if you've got one that's not on this, and it's connecting with S3, it very likely will work just fine. So just kind of summarizing here, Hyperstore, very flexible, running bare metal, VM, and container. We'll talk more about that, but it's cost effective. So when you're in a world of data growth, it's very helpful to have a very cost effective storage tier to evolve as your needs grow. So the cost of storing and accessing data, managing complexity, that's also important in terms of cost. Metadata is also available with that, and to William's point about search and getting value out of your data, object storage is great with respect to highlighting metadata and making use of that. And in the case of Cloudian, it's actually very scalable to have even custom metadata tags that can be used for your own purpose, so for your own data analytics. It's very efficient, and of course it also importantly reduces risk with respect to whether it's just adding capacity non-disruptively, how you share that, the data durability I mentioned a minute ago. That's all. There's also risk with all that stuff, and here it's all protected. And then finally, let's drill down a little bit more on the military grade security that's built into the Cloudian platform. This is certified with even more than I'm showing on the slide here, but it has some of the more well-known security certifications from U.S. federal government. I'll just point to FIPS 140-2, if you're familiar with that. The SEC rule 17A-4, that's for WORM, or write once, read many. That is the centerpiece of the protection of the data, whether it's for compliance or cybersecurity protection, that kind of thing. So that's that. So even if it's federal security, it's also completely relevant across any organization who cares about that. In addition to the security I'm showing you on the bottom of the slide, there's secure shell, integrated firewall, access controls, everything that is needed to ensure safe and protected data. So that's very important for that. So I think with that, I can hand it back to my colleague Sandeep to talk about the next story here with modern applications.
Yeah, thank you, Grant. So I'm going to be talking about modern applications and how Cloudian sort of fits into that story. So yeah, so if the survey said that 32% of you guys are, containerizing your apps already. 20% is no, and 50% are looking, right? So you probably know a lot of these things, which is that, containers, the latest paradigm of computing. The idea is to have non-persistent compute, right? So that, I think this is part of an overall story. You started with bare metal, in the up until the 90s or so. We moved to VMs where you could run, tens of VMs on one bare metal server. Now you can run thousands of containers on one bare metal server, right? It's incredible. So containers, you'll also hear the word modern apps for it, but the reality is you just change the framework a little bit and it's the same thing, right? But you still need to have storage that's persistent. Even if you have non-persistent compute, you still need to have storage that's persistent. The way we support containers is that our HSC, which is hyperstore a hyperstore for containers, runs within a container, right? It runs in a container, it's persistent, and it works within the Kubernetes framework. So why now, right? So again, if you've been in the industry for a while, that there was an old operating system called BSD, which had something called BSD jails. But that feature was kind of like containers, but it actually came out in the late 80s. So why is it now? So now the industry is, timing is everything, right? So there's been a couple of orchestration frameworks. Kubernetes seems to be the one that's gaining most strength. There's a couple of others that we won't talk about. A lot of companies are investing in containers for applications. I think it's because of the rise of the cloud as well, because it ties itself up to cloud native and for DevOps. In fact, you'll notice that a lot of software houses that do that follow the agile framework for developing applications, that seems to tie itself pretty well for that kind of development framework, right? So why do you want to use Cloudian storage for containers? So with Cloudian, what you have is you've still got that rich API. So if you're a developer, you're still going to have that rich API for provisioning and scaling storage. You can very quickly deploy resources, right? So that as your application grows, your storage is going to grow as well, which means the service scales. Most importantly, I think this is sort of a tried and trusted data management platform. You have extremely high security and compliance. If you're an IT operator, you're going to leverage your existing skills, right? You've managed Cloudian before. This doesn't look that different. When you're running HSC, you're still going to monitor. You're still going to use the same tools that you used earlier to sort of manage your HSC instance. So what value does Cloudian HSC add? So we talked about, why, containers are getting more important now. We talked about why Cloudian. What value does it add? Number one is, persistence. You have to have persistent storage. There's some folks that say things like, well, the whole point of containers is to be non-persistent, right? Well, that's a philosophical issue. You got to have persistent storage if you're going to do anything that makes sense, right? The second is containerization. HSC is going to run as a container within your Kubernetes framework, right? And the last third thing is S3 compatibility. So what this means is, you can reuse the same script, write to HSC, make a couple of changes, maybe write to some other S3 bucket, right? S3 framework. Yeah, so here's our roadmap. Here's where we are right now. So the current release of HSC is we call it Hyperstore for Containers, or HSC 1.1, right? So HSC 1.1, the first container framework that we supported was actually from our friends at VMware. It's called VMware Tanzu, right? So it's basically VMware vSAN, then vSphere, and sort of a container framework built on top of that. So basically it plugs into vCenter and integrates with K8 and stuff like that. So that's where we are right now. What's coming up, the heading is kind of the same, but it should actually say second half of 2021. But anyway, so Hyperstore for Containers 1.2, which is where we're going to be supporting OpenShift, okay, Red Hat OpenShift. It's the usual stuff. It runs faster and things like that. So long-term, 12 months, what we like to do is support frameworks, more frameworks, right? Stuff like Rancher and so on. A long-term vision here is to do stuff like edge services, right? So today, what happens is, you have applications that generate a lot of data, and that data gets shipped over to a central location where it's analyzed. Well, what if you could analyze the data where it was collected, which is what edge computing really means. Okay. Yeah.
Thanks so much for walking us through that. I think that as everyone looks towards containerized applications and how they're going to fit into both their application development life cycles, but also in terms of their adoption of different cloud infrastructures or part of some global digital transformation strategy. What we're trying to essentially explain to everyone is that there's this intense need for making storage easier to manage, available to more parties than just IT people that are provisioning storage to a virtual machine, right? And you're going to have to provide easy, consumable, flexible, scalable ways to consume storage in the future. And Cloudian, or on-prem, PNAP's object storage platform powered by Cloudian, makes for a great place and a great third-party alternative to public cloud hyperscaler object storage. And some of the best parts of leveraging kind of a third-party data store for those is in the adoption of a multi-cloud strategy. You can essentially have a transition point between on-prem and various public clouds and have kind of a single interstitial layer between those two environments that is compatible with both sides. And I think that that's one of the things that we've been trying to build out. And if you look at the screen here of all the places we use Cloudian today, I can tell you that as a testament, we have found more ways to adopt object storage than we ever thought that we would, right? Because on the surface, the first time you look at object storage, it does look a little bit intimidating, right? What am I supposed to do with this HTTPS link? But ultimately, through the hard work of software engineers, they've made it easy to consume. If you're a Veeam user, you can target our object storage platform right now, right? You use anybody, Commvault for backup, any of the data transfer, like the data mobility applications that are out there, integrations with OpenShift now, Rancher coming soon, as you mentioned, so many different ways to consume object storage built in native to these applications. I highly suggest, if you look through your infrastructure applications you have on-prem today, anything that lists S3 compatible storage would work with on-prem Cloudian or Phoenix Snap Object Storage natively out of the box, ready to go, right? And that's part of Cloudian's commitment to the industry, is to make that S3 compatibility super high grade, right? Making sure that, I mean, Grant's probably gonna like slice me in the back here, but I mean, it's at various points you've been 99+%, right, Grant, of compatibility with the S3 API?
Yes, that's right. Industry leading, in fact, around the world. A lot of people claim it, but they might have 50% or 60.
Right, they'll say, oh yeah, we support S3, right? From a storage vendor perspective. And the other thing that's interesting to me, and it's somewhat anecdotal, is that we put Cloudian up against a lot of object storage, and or even file storage vendors. And the places where we saw S3 compatibility being offered almost always were slow. Right, and Grant, I don't know if you've noticed that, but like some of your competitors, they have S3, but it's 50% the speed of their native API. Whereas like Cloudian's API is S3, right? So
that's a great point. Just to pick up on that, the way the Cloudian platform has been designed from the beginning was with the native API. There's no gateway, there's no translation layer to slow it down.
Absolutely. So some of you guys, we've had some questions kind of come in that we've been answering on the back end. How do we address security within the object storage service and by proxy Cloudian helping us do that, right? Is three basic layers, right? Making sure that you have encryption both of the data in transit with SSL and the data at rest with either encrypting the data before you store it in the object store or using the native encryption libraries that are there to encrypt the data as it's said. Turning on that object lock feature and making that data immutable, right? And ensuring that you have high degrees of replication and kind of a solid selection around erasure encoding to make sure that the data placement of the objects that you're putting in the object store is super, super highly resilient, right? I believe that the erasure coding we're using right now, Cloudian offers a bunch of different options, is like 9 nines or something, 8 nines or 9 nines resilient. So, I mean, basically to somewhat of eternity. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just, it's making the days of your SAN losing some type of, going into a degraded RAID state and losing data. It's not particularly, I mean, I guess it's possible, but it's not particularly easy to accomplish in object storage in general, and Cloudian implementation of that makes it even better. So, one of the things that we've been doing to try to address some of the stuff that Sandeep was talking about, and I mentioned this at the beginning of the call, was we've been trying to make infrastructure, dedicated infrastructure, feel like it's cloud native infrastructure. Everything via API, everything via your favorite infrastructure as code tool. Making infrastructure as part of microservices management applications, Kubernetes native, Rancher, right? Today, this is not vaporware, right? Today, you can spin up fully dedicated servers, pay by the hour and or commit via a slew of SDKs, and I think at least 10 infrastructure as code or automations tools. I'm talking GitHub Actions, Kubernetes native controller. We just launched our Rancher solution and Rancher workload manager. I mean, there's just, I was like, it's a Terraform, Ansible, Pulumi, anything you can think of. There are ways to build compute on demand, and with a performance consistency and performance availability that is unmatched, right? In terms of if you take your workload and you're running it inside of an EC2 or AWS or Azure VM today, you run that same workload on these dedicated instances and they will perform better and they will go faster, period, right? Because you're not subject to noisy neighbors. You're not subject to hypervisor scheduling. You're not subject to any of these things. If you want to deploy a hypervisor on it, be my guest. It's your platform. It's your infrastructure. It's the same way that you would have it on-prem, except you get to consume it like a cloud service without all the reins of a platform that is essentially locking you in to their services. That is the idea of bare metal cloud, and that is why we say it's built for the hybrid cloud world, right? We want you to be able to pick up your traditional applications, move them to an infrastructure service that has associated other infrastructure, or to a compute service that has associated other infrastructure services like our object storage service powered by Cloudian, and gives you all of that, to do with what you like, essentially. And, beat the pants off everybody from a cost perspective. I mean, I think that's gonna be the hook, but ultimately I think everybody is gonna find it to be a better place to experience. And if you still need public cloud services, just connect to them. It's easy, right? We've got partners like Megaport, Packet Fabric. You can in most of our data centers, all the public clouds are already there anyway, so you can get a direct connect, cross connect. This is, from our perspective, the new way to do high demand applications and or secure applications. It's a way to get full ownership of your infrastructure without having to buy it and put it in the data center. And we're realizing that right now. So you take PhoenixNAP, you combine it with our object storage solutions powered by Cloudian, you get global, scalable, on-demand, cost-effective platform for compute and storage that I think can't be beat in the market today. And I challenge you to do that. So again, I wanted to remind everybody that we are giving away 1 terabyte of our object storage service for free for anybody that signs up for Bare Metal Cloud and spins up a server at least for a month. And I also have received the winner of our $100 Amazon gift card, and I'll do that before we do Q&A. So let's see, it is Mr. Robert Oakley. So Mr. Robert Oakley, we will be in touch with you, and you are the winner of the $100 Amazon gift card. And so I will, I want to do one final poll. My friends over in the marketing department make me put this one up. So if anybody wants to talk to us about Bare Metal Cloud, about object storage, wants to take advantage of the promo, click the button and we will have somebody contact you. We put both companies in there so that you can get to the right people, right? You won't have a PhoenixNAP person beating your door down if you want to just talk to the Cloudian folks and or vice versa. So please click the button, help us out if you want to be contacted, and we will go from there. And with that, I will take some questions and answers. So it looks like we have a couple already flowing in. Let's see here. I have the awesome little cloud, or the go-to-meeting questions here. All right, okay. So maybe I'll send one out to the Cloudian team. So Sandeep or Grant, feel free, jump in on this. For large objects, is there a size limit that the object that's trying to be stored can be? Is there any size limitations to the Cloudian platform today?
Grant, do you want to take that, or do you want me to take it?
Go ahead, Sandeep.
Okay, so for large objects, the size limit is 5 terabytes. There's effectively no limit on the number of objects you can put into a bucket, but the largest object you can put into a bucket is 5 terabytes.
That's pretty big. So I'm pretty sure most of us don't have 5 terabyte objects laying around. But there are ways to obviously split, file super large files up and store them. But I think on a singular file, 5 terabytes is a lot. So, and I believe that's the maximum of most of the public clouds right now. Sandeep, pretty sure. I don't think there's anybody supporting larger than 5 terabyte objects. And in fact, probably quite a few supporting lower than that. I remember the first AWS size limit was like 5 gigabytes or something like that on the object. So it's definitely come a long way. All right. So next question we have is there a need to back up my object storage data? And I'll take that one because let me tell you, yes, always. There is a need to make a geo-redundant copy of your data. The best part of it though is that is built into these object storage platforms, right? So you put an object, you make a bucket in our West Coast deployment of the Cloudian object store, and you want data protection, just cross-region replicate it to another data center. Easy, done, right? You want to use a modern backup technology to take a snapshot and put it on-prem, you can do that too, right? So there's pretty much infinite ways for you to go about kind of data protecting the objects that you store in these data storage services, whether it's ours on-prem or in public cloud. But I will tell you that you have to do your due diligence and take the initiative to protect that data. Super, super, super important, and something that I feel like a lot of people just, for whatever reason, can't wrap their heads around, and really own the fact that they need to do that and be in charge of that for their organization. All right. Maybe someone on the Cloudian team want to talk about object metadata and what that allows people to do with the data that they're storing in the object store?
Sure. So with when you upload a object into a Cloudian bucket, you can assign certain metadata to it, right? So for instance, think of an X-ray. So if doctor takes if you're at a hospital or whatever, your doctor takes an X-ray, you put that into a Cloudian bucket, you're going to have to assign certain metadata to it, like first of all, the name of the person whose X-ray you took, because otherwise it's useless, and then maybe some identifying information about that patient, right? When it was taken, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the kind of metadata that you can attach to a particular object. Moving forward, we will be having ways of searching for that metadata as well, right? So you'll be able to go in and then say things like, find me all X-rays that were taken of, I don't know, Homer Simpson, right? So those actually you can do that today with with an Elasticsearch add-on, but we'll be integrating that into some of the other products that we have.
Absolutely. I think that what we're starting to see is that even the storage of data is creating more storage of data, right? So everybody's continuing to tag and learn on and create data from the data they have, right? We see this most typically with AI inference models and things like that, being able to look at these unstructured data sets and make structured data from them, right? That's kind of the nirvana of some of this, idea around store everything, is really start to create structured data that you can make good decisions on and or enhance the value of your business with all this unstructured data that you're storing, right? And maybe that's video surveillance footage, maybe that is song libraries. I mean, you're starting to see this today. I think one of the best examples I can give is lyrics being shown on the your Amazon Echo Shows or those types of devices. Google has the same type of technology. And it used to be that somebody like really had to go and like write all these lyrics out. And just for sure, to some extent, people still need to like look over them and check them. But a lot of it's just done with you know, linguistic AI, right? That's able to to some extent play back the song, listen to the words, create all the metadata, the lyrics, and show them on the screen. And that's leading to just massive generations of data. You know, the beats per minute of a song, or the, you know, whatever you can think about when it comes to popular types of data sets. People are trying to find ways to report on, make that data visibility better, and hopefully enhance the value of whatever service they're trying to create. And so with that, I will thank everyone. It's been a great webinar. We've learned a lot about everything. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. Reach out, contact us, we'll help you. I promise that if you want to buy something, we'll be there for you. If you don't want to buy something, you just need a question answered, we will find somebody that can help you answer it, and put you on your way in your journey to multi-cloud, object storage, hybridity, wherever you're going. I want to thank Grant and Sandeep from Cloudian. Thank you guys so much again for helping me out today.
Thank you.
Anytime.
And this recording will be available after the webinar. We'll send out an email to all the attendees with the recording, and hopefully you had a chance to get the handouts as well. I think we're gonna send those as well. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great day.